The workouts have begun for 9 teams today. As you know, rookie head coaches get a 2-week head start over the rest of the league. So let's check out the Steelers reporting for phase 1 of offseason workouts. You got TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, the defensive stalwarts there in attendance. It's day 1, 2 for Josh Allen looking to get things started in Buffalo. He's got a new wideout, DJ Moore, arriving. Meanwhile, the quarterback competition just getting started in Cleveland again. Shedeur Sanders has arrived for day 1 of what will be a very interesting offseason for the Cleveland Browns. And the G-men, they're ready to go under their new head coach, John Harbaugh. You got QB1 Jackson Dart, star wideout Malik Neighbors reporting for duty. But one key member of the Giants, a guy the fans love to call Sexy Dexy, he's not there as it's time to check in with Jordan Renan. All-pro defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence wants a trade. Give us the latest, Jordan.
Yeah, welcome to New York, John Harbaugh, right? You're supposed to be like the first day of school. Everyone's excited. What does he have to deal with? First of all, he noted the Zoom call, all the faces there. He was amazed by the sheer number of faces that were there. But now he has to get to work, right? No Dexter Lawrence, one of his top players, who recently requested a trade, wants to either trade out of New York or a renewed contract, which is something they've been working on now for the last couple weeks. But John Harbaugh speaking said the prospects of him returning are high. He seemed to feel confident and optimistic that Dexter Lawrence will be back with the Giants this season, in part because the Giants want Dexter Lawrence, and Dexter Lawrence wants to remain with the Giants. Later on, however, when he was asked about Kayvon Thibodeau and his future, he said, everyone is tradable. So presumably, however, that would also mean Dexter Lawrence. And from my understanding, the Giants don't want to trade Dexter Lawrence, but they are willing to at least listen in case someone comes with a massive offer for the all-pro defensive tackle. Now, the Giants, in the meantime, will have to move on without Lawrence. They also have Cam Skadaboo and Malik Neighbors returning from injury last season, right? 2 of them both had serious injuries. Malik Neighbors is the one that John Harbaugh said is going to be closer to the regular season, likely sometime in training camp and the regular season. He'll be back. Skadaboo, meanwhile, could get on the field at some point this spring, which kind of is amazing because the last time we saw him, his foot was facing in the wrong direction.
Yeah, could have done without that reminder. But Jordan Renan, love that report. Thank you so much, including Harbaugh being surprised at how many people were on his Zoom today. As we welcome you to NFL Live, Schrags is here, Field Yates is here, Swagoo's going to be along, Mel Kiper's going to be along. A lot of knowledge in the house today. But first, what do you think of this story about Dexter?
This is no surprise for the New York Giants, and Jordan is spot on here that they will listen to calls. If there is a call for Dexter Lawrence and someone's offering a first-round pick, I am certain that Joe Shane will pick up that phone. This is 2 years in the making, Hannah, where he has been unhappy with his pay. When he signed his new contract, he was one of the highest-paid defensive linemen in all of football. Right now, he is the 12th highest-paid defensive tackle, and that includes guys like Jordan Davis and Milton Williams, who, though they've won Super Bowls, have not had, as individuals, the same type of career that this guy has. So Dexter Lawrence and his agent, Joel Siegel, have been working behind the scenes, but very upset with how this has gone and that there hasn't been a new contract conversation. Dexter Lawrence personally, well, he's very tight with Leonard Williams, who never got paid by the Giants, and Saquon Barkley, who never got paid by the Giants, and Julian Love, who never got paid by the Giants, who went on to other ventures. So maybe the grass is greener, but the Giants do have the leverage. He's still got 2 more years left on his contract. But to Jordan's point, hey, John Harbaugh, welcome to New York. It's not just going to all be parades and roses for your hiring.
Yeah, listen, and he's here, but Joe Shane retained as the GM, so we will see what happens there. All right. Meanwhile, losing Lawrence would be a big blow to that defense. The team did bring in some notable players this offseason, though. Few of them on both sides of the ball, including 2-time Pro Bowl linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, who spent the last 3 seasons with the Bears. John Harbaugh bringing over his former Ravens tight end Isaiah Likely, along with receiver Darnell Mooney. He and offensive coordinator Matt Nagy spoke today.
The first install, which is just the very first example of how we're going to build the offense, that's what was put in today. It was fun to see offense up on the screen and Jackson right there taking his notes. You know, That was awesome. So it was a good start.
When I got here to New York and got to meet him and started talking to him, you could tell right away that everything was true. I mean, this kid is different that way. And so my initial conversation with Coach Harbs was, hey, excited, really looking forward to being able to help out in many ways and building that relationship and that trust. And I know he had a great year last year, but we want to make it even better and continue to have him grow. And I want to be there to help him.
Okay, so one thing is he has to preserve himself, right? Yep. Jackson Dart, let's not get hurt. Let's not do anything foolish. But what do you make of him under this new system? It's very early days, obviously.
Well, to your first point there, he was tested 5 times for a concussion during a game this past season. Now, he's a quarterback that does run, but I do think there is this balancing act that any quarterback and any offensive coordinator, when the quarterback is a capable runner, must walk, which is, yes, we want to tap into those legs effectively because it makes him a very dynamic player. We also want to keep the player out of harm. But there were moments last season. I think back to specifically, it was a game the Giants lost, but a game against the Denver Broncos where I sat there and thought to myself, this looks like a future Pro Bowl level quarterback that we are seeing with the New York Giants right now. He can win games operating almost exclusively from the pocket, to the point that the running ability can be more of an accessory than a feature for Jackson Dart. So I'm not saying the Giants are going to completely eliminate what he can do as a scrambler and as a designed runner, but I do think kind of being a little bit more selective with your spots there is an important thing for them to address, because as they saw last season, without Jackson Dart, the offense was not going to be nearly as effective of an operation.
Oh, yeah. I would add that it's not just Matt Nagy. Greg Roman is on that staff, who, of course, is one of the most dynamic run game operators in football. And then they also brought in Brian Callahan, who is a former NFL head coach with the Tennessee Titans. Sure. And, of course, has plenty of experience working with Joe Burrow and Derek Carr and Peyton Manning before that. So I think there's a lot of interesting veteran voices in Jackson Dart's head. I wonder...
Are there too many?
That might be a question, for real. That might be a question. And also, what does this offense look like when it actually takes the field? I wouldn't just say it's a Matt Nagy offense. There are several different influencers involved in that.
And that's a lot for a young quarterback, right? In his second season, right? A new system and a lot of new faces. So it's a lot to absorb, right?
Like, they got to have a plan. The coaches do. And they've had months now to discuss said plan. But I hope that there is a very clear order of operations for Jackson Dart. Hey,
yeah, like who's that main guy? Yeah.
Your liaison to the football field between now and when the games begin on September 8th or whatever is this person. Hey, what Matt Nagy says goes. Whoever it is, I hope that's very clearly defined.
Think of the quarterbacks that those coaches have worked with in recent years. Lamar, Justin Herbert, with obviously Roman, but then you go through Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith, and then when you go to Callahan, it's a murderer's row of quarterbacks who've been great in this league. So
a lot of horsepower.
A lot of horsepower with the knowledge.
I know. You just don't want too many cooks in the kitchen. Too much of a good thing. All right. Let's go to a guy who, well, Jackson Dart was in this position not too long ago. As the Raiders begin their new offseason workouts under Clint Kubiak, Fernando Mendoza is scheduled for a visit today. Going to get to know those new teammates, get in the building, and there's one place that he won't be going. He's going to Vegas. He is not going to Pittsburgh. He has informed the NFL, according to Shedeur, he is not planning to attend the draft this month. He wants to share the draft experience with his family in Miami. Some could say that celebrating in Miami is not a bad option.
That's the U.S. men's hockey team.
Right, yes. Exactly.
They're still in that club.
He's been working with Brian Greasy, reportedly, and he's gotten a head start on that playbook. What's going to happen here in Vegas, though, during this visit? What are they going to be talking about, looking at?
Well, I think there's going to be more opportunities for him to grind the tape with the offensive staff there for the Las Vegas Raiders, meet some people in high positions within this organization that maybe he hasn't come across yet, whether it was during his career at Indiana, at the Combine, or at his pro day. There's been a lot made about Fernando Mendoza and the transition to him becoming more of an under-center quarterback. Last season, the Seahawks were second in the NFL in terms of percentage of snaps taken from under center as opposed to out of the gun. The reality is, other than Army, Navy, and Air Force, no college programs play from under center in college football.
Exactly, right.
It's how the college football game. Yes, we have. So it's a transition for every quarterback that is graduating from college to the NFL. Are there elements of it that might be tricky at first? Sure, but I think by the time we get to September, I think there's going to be pretty fundamental and rudimentary for Fernando Mendoza. So we can get past sort of the shotgun part of it and more so to the nuances of this offense. That's why I think the addition of Kirk Cousins is so important. because Kirk knows this offense backwards and forwards.
It's great. And at the Combine, they did a meeting with him 15 minutes, and he FaceTimed Tom Brady and, like, absolutely geeked out, apparently, because this is who his favorite player was as a kid. I can tell you and report here that Tom Brady is in the building this week, and he will be at this meeting when he comes to the team, and that's a cool experience for them to get to know each other. Brady's not going to be calling the plays. Brady's not going to be coaching this team. But to have Tom Brady invested in you as a quarterback, it raises your expectations. And I think he is internally motivated. He doesn't need that. But I do find it significant that first overall pick, the first quarterback that a Brady-led team is going to actually draft, and also Clint Kubiak's first quarterback. So a lot of people are banking their reputations and their expectations on Fernando Mendoza. And if you saw anything about what he did with Cignetti in Indiana last year, he took a team that was good the year before, got them over the hump. The hope is that he can make a team that was terrible last year and get them closer to relevance.
But you got to figure Kirk Cousins being there takes the pressure off of him to let him develop the way that he should.
But that is no guarantee that that Cousins is starting week one. Maybe Mendoza starts week one.
Yeah, but playing in that division as well, maybe the expectations aren't so high. It's not going to all be wins and losses where they're going to rush that guy out before he needs to.
And I think the best part of the Kirk Cousins dynamic that goes beyond just the fact that he's been playing for, 13, 14 years now in the NFL, he's seen so many things, is that unlike Fernando, who's got these incredible natural traits, right? He's 6'5", 236 pounds, cannon arm, full field accuracy. Kirk Cousins has won throughout his career because he has prepped harder and processed better than most quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, his limitations after the snap, if pressure bears down, he's not Lamar Jackson that can pirouette out of a would-be sack. He can teach Fernando so much about the maybe 8, maybe 15 seconds, depending on how quickly that play caller gets the play sent into Fernando, that can be the difference between being a good quarterback and a potentially outstanding quarterback, which is what the Raiders are hoping.
And just from a distance, it does seem like their personalities are going to mesh, doesn't it?
They're authentically themselves.
They seem like the same kind of guy.
I'll use a McVayism real quick. From above the neck, Kirk Cousins is as good as any quarterback in the league. Above the neck, and that's what Mendoza's going to need.
There you go. I love it. All right, we're just getting started on NFL Live. Can running back Jeremiah Love, one of my favorite subjects, can he crack the top 5? Projections are based on what Schrags is hearing, not what he would personally do at each slot. And he has, obviously, Fernando Mendoza going first overall. No surprise there. So after 1, things get interesting. Schrags, take us through picks 2 through 4.
This one got interesting because the Jets, I haven't seen David Bailey going 2 in many mocks. Most polished pass rusher in this draft, had 15 sacks last year. It would be either him as polished as the pass rusher. Again, Hannah, these things can change a lot. It's just a mock draft. It's not a sure thing. But as of right now, I have the Jets going David Bailey over Reese, which leads to number 3. I've got Reese going to Arizona, where he would join former Ohio State talent Marvin Harrison out there in the desert. And the two of those would be teaming up to try to build the mastic player in college, and one with a huge upside. Arizona's defense was horrendous last year. And when you're facing the Rams offense, the Niners offense, and the Seahawks offense 2 times a year, you better have a pass rusher. They don't have that at the moment. The number 4, a lot of people's favorite player in this entire draft, Jeremiah Love. I have him going number 4 overall to the Tennessee Titans, joining Cam Ward to start the new era of the Robert Saleh, Brian Daboll version of the Tennessee Titans. New stadium, new look, new uniform, and a new running back that has been an issue for the Tennessee Titans for many years since Derrick Henry left. Jeremiah Love. This is very rich for a running back, but he is a rare prospect. I have him going 4th overall to Tennessee.
New stadium, you got to sell tickets, right? And he is box office. Okay, let's talk to the godfather of the mock drafts. These things would not even exist if it were not for Mel Kiper Jr. So, Mel, why don't you weigh in on Peter right there at number 4? What do you like there?
I agree with Peter. Jeremiah Love, there's a lot to love and like about Jeremiah Love because he doesn't do anything wrong. He doesn't fumble. He catches the ball. You can move him out wide. You can do anything you want. He can hit the 70-yard run for a touchdown. He become Tony Dorsett, hit a 99-yarder. He can do everything you want. Great young man. He would certainly help Cam Ward get to that franchise level, which we think and know he can become. So this is a dilemma right here. Do you take Jeremiah Love to help Ward? Do you help the defense keep getting better with that Fred Warner type of player in Sonny Styles? That's what I debated. I don't know what Peter did, but I was Styles Love. I went with Jeremiah Love. Then I was told, guys, that I was wrong. By Adam Schefter, it's not going to be Jeremiah Love. It's a little too high for Love. That may be 7 for Washington. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Right now, I completely agree with Peter on this. You get the best or second best player, in my opinion, at 4. That's what you want.
Okay, so this comes down to an argument that I think we have pretty much every year now when there's a premier running back. It's just positional value. And if you look at some of the running backs that have been taken in the top 10 in recent drafts, as a matter of fact, pretty much all of them except for, if you want to make it the top 12, you can. Jahmyr Gibbs, who went to the Lions, and that was unique circumstances. That was a pick they acquired from the Rams as part of the Matthew Stafford trade. Running backs have not influenced further winning after going as high as some of the guys like Bijan Robinson, Ashton Genty have. As a matter of fact, the Falcons have had a bottom 13 record in each of the 3 seasons in which they had Bijan Robinson on their roster. Does Tennessee feel like they are close enough to actually icing the cake and acquiring that icing in Jeremiah Love, or are they still early enough in the process in a division that has 3 teams that think they are going to be legit AFC contenders next season in Houston, Jacksonville, and Indianapolis, that they say, we have to attack a position that's just harder to find elite players at, whether that's a pass rusher, which in Peter's mock, neither of Arvell Reese or David Bailey was available. Maybe a player like Sonny Styles, not that off-ball linebacker is the same level of premium position as pass rusher, but it might be harder to find a dynamic defense-changing off-ball linebacker than it is a serviceable running back. That's the debate. I have no bad things to say about Jeremiah Love.
I mean, would you qualify him as a serviceable running back?
I would qualify Jeremiah Love as an amazing
explosive.
Yeah, I mean 40 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons.
Exactly.
He's excellent. It just comes down.
Okay.
We all know this. It's
value.
roster building construction. Right
Okay, so yesterday on NFL Live, Swagoo, you were here, and basically everybody on the show kind of talked us off of Jeremiah Love at 4. So listening to everybody that you listened to today, what are your thoughts?
First of all, good to see you, fellas.
Yeah,
Man, good to see you, brother. What's up, y'all? Listen, here's the thing. I think there's a number of factors that's going to go into this decision, and I love, with all due respect to Shrey and Babyface and Mel, because they are the draft guys, along with some others. I just look at it from an organizational standpoint. I think you're going to have 2 conflicting ideologies. Robert Saleh is the head coach. Fred Warner was a linebacker for him with a defense that was phenomenal and literally was a Super Bowl caliber defense. And if he sees that trade in Sonny Styles, does that take precedent over Jeremiah Love being a running back, where you bring in a new offensive coordinator in Brian Daboll along with a young quarterback and trying to get that side of the ball going? Now, the thing that throws me a little bit is that they spent a lot of money in free agency on defense. They believe that they bolstered this defensive line with John Franklin Myers, bringing over Jermaine Johnson from the New York Jets, with who had the experience with Robert Saleh. I think this is going to be one of those situations in the war room where you're going to have to decide what the identity of the football team will be. Bijan Robinson is phenomenal. He's one of the best football players in the NFL. The impact on winning is what comes to mind, like Babyface said. And I know that Atlanta needed a lot of things. But when you think about the Seattle Seahawks and the impact that Nick Emmanwori made on that defense on their way to a Super Bowl, I have to believe that that's going to be a factor that the Tennessee Titans think about, especially in a division where you have the Houston Texans, who were deep into the playoffs because of their defense as well. So there's a lot of conflicting things, and the decision won't be wrong with either or. That's why I think everybody's having a problem with it. It's just going to determine, when that time comes for that pick to be made, who do they think is going to get them better right now and be more about winning games because of this position as opposed to the other? That's why it's one of the most interesting picks in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's rich for a running back, but I just can't help but think of Saquon Barkley. He would be the first top 5 pick since Barkley was in 2018. Yeah. What an impact player he was, and he can catch a ball out of the slot.
But this past year, what
and he went to Notre Dame. He's like really,
but
really
he's not
smart.
Saquon, to your point, though, Hannah, Saquon is not even on the same team he was drafted to.
And
so again, like
Yeah,
he came back down to earth this year, right?
I'm talking about impact player.
Sure, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, Swagoo, just come on.
Winning
doing
impact.
this every year. Yep.
It's my, it's my guy. It's the Irish. All right, still to come. The Dolphins. Right, teams with new head coaches checking in for those off-season workouts, including the Steelers under Mike McCarthy. Kind of weird to refer to him as a new coach, but new in Pittsburgh. Obviously, they're still waiting on Aaron Rodgers, as per usual. In the meantime, you saw T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward, the best buddies, arriving today. NFL draft's going to come to Pittsburgh this year, and they're going to have plenty to cheer about. They picked 21st overall in the first round. They have their own second-round pick, 3 picks in the third round, another 2 in the fourth. Obviously, they could package those and move up. Overall, the Steelers with 12 picks in the draft in their hometown, the most of any other team. So how should they use that mix field of like those early and those late picks?
Right, Hannah, I think the question is, do you truncate those picks, try to move up and navigate the draft board, or do you try to use all 12 of them? I definitely lean towards the latter because while the Steelers' defense at its best had brilliant moments this past season, it's not even sneaky anymore. They're just getting old, right? Some of their best players are either, we know Cam Hayward in his late 30s, T.J. Watt in his 30s now. Like, these guys are no longer, new kids on the block. Yeah, Jalen Ramsey.
And expensive.
They need to find ways to get a pipeline of talent onto the defensive side of the ball that's younger. And I truly do not believe, as long as the Rooney family is owning the Pittsburgh Steelers, that this team will ever take gap years where they say, we're going to gut the van and start from scratch. So they got to be proactive in addressing needs before they become obvious needs. Draft is the perfect vehicle to do that. They've had a lot of success doing so, Swagoo. I'm in on building out the depth rather than just going for 3 or 4 difference makers this upcoming draft.
Babyface, I 100% agree, but they need to try to figure out if Ty Simpson is available, if they need to move up a spot or 2 to get him, they have to. It's time to rip the Band-Aid off at quarterback and see if you can get a young guy to usher this franchise into the future. Look, man, I work on Monday Night Countdown, and you go to Pittsburgh, this fan base is absolutely phenomenal. And they're going to show up with them yellow towels, and they're going to wave the hell out of them, no matter if they winning or losing, right? And the frustration that I heard after the game that they lost to the Houston Texans in the playoffs was alarming. They wanted Mike Tomlin gone. They wanted the GM gone. They wanted to figure out how to quarterback. They wanted Aaron Rodgers gone. A lot of the sentiment was about this particular position, and we are back in this revolving cycle. Here's the problem. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a proud organization that has experienced a tremendous amount of success, that it's hard for them to think that we'll have a bad season. So they stay in the offseason and they try to find a quarterback that can makeshift something, and hopefully they get to the playoffs and try to have some success and reinvigorate something old. We find ourselves again with the Pittsburgh Steelers picking 20th, with no quarterback for the future, a team now, to your point, Babyface, that defense is getting old, which they wanted to hang their hats on by having Aaron Rodgers at 40-plus years old. There's a lot of glaring issues in Pittsburgh, but the one glaring issue that you cannot win without in this league is high-level quarterback play. I'm not talking about competent high quarterback play. I'm not talking about average quarterback play. You cannot win how the Steelers want to win without a high level of quarterback play. And they need to figure out if that's not going to be a guy that's proven to play at a high level, they got to take swings at quarterbacks out of college and hope one of them can turn into their Dak Prescott.
Swagoo, regardless of whether Aaron Rodgers is there, you would take
regardless,
Simpson.
Hannah, the reason why they picking 21 is because Aaron Rodgers was there. The reason why they've been picking late in these drafts is because they've done better than they need to.
Right, they're in no man's land. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I got you.
Gray area is what I call it.
I wonder if they would let him know, or if they would just pull a Jordan Love and just take him and not tell him. Anyway, that's a whole other story. Let's go to a fascinating quarterback situation with look who's arriving, Shedeur Sanders. Yeah. Off-season workouts earlier today, and our Browns source says that Deshaun Watson is also reported for the start of the off-season workouts. And prior to taking the Browns head coaching job, our guy Todd Monken spent 7 seasons as an offensive coordinator, the last 3 in Baltimore, where the Ravens ranked 3rd in total QBR. Lamar Jackson, of course, mostly under center there. And in his previous stops with Tampa and Cleveland, his offenses were middle of the pack in QBR. It was Jameis Winston. It was Baker Mayfield. Shregs, I guess the question is who's going to actually be the starting quarterback for the Browns?
I like that Mel is up here because he'll like my answer,
Yeah.
I think. I was talking at the league meetings with Todd Monken, and I asked him about who was there in the building and made some news on Twitter and obviously moved the needle. Shedeur Sanders has been present. He has been there. Dylan Gabriel has not. Deshaun Watson was there early, has not been the last few weeks. But Shedeur Sanders has made a decision to be in Cleveland, to be in Berea, to spend this offseason around the new coaching staff, learning the new offense. Now, you can't actually throw. You can't actually do anything. It's against CBA rules. But for everything he possibly could have done this offseason, Shedeur Sanders has done it to make a good impression. That said, I think it's an open competition between those two men. Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. Deshaun Watson being the giant wild card with we have no idea what we're going to get. He's basically been off the radar and out of football for the last year and a half. And then Shedeur Sanders, who showed flashes last year, but the team investment is just a fifth-round pick. It's not like they're paying him like Deshaun Watson is being paid, and it's not like they gave up what they had to give up to get Deshaun Watson. A fascinating dichotomy of two different guys and a head coach who I think is going to give the ball to the best man suitable for the job.
Yeah, Watson throwing with some of the receivers in Florida. It should be noted, Mel, they got a couple of first-round picks in play. What should their plans be?
I'm with Pedro and Shedeur. We all know that, but I think the wide receivers catch the football. You know, Shedeur threw a beautiful ball to Jerry Jeudy against the Bears. Dropped off his shoulder pads, intercepted. So instead of a touchdown pass, it's an interception. Had several of those this year. Some unfortunate plays that didn't go their way because of drops. Harold Fannin Jr., young tight end, became the most. Jordan Tyson, what a great talent he is. He is a beast. I know about the durability concerns, but hey, what are you going to do? Hey, once you get in the NFL, you may never have another injury. Carnell Tate, what does he do? He catches everything thrown his way. You got Mekhi Lemon. You got three receivers. Mekhi Lemon plays fierce. Love the kid. Three receivers, so you take one of those. The one guy, left tackle, that's the other key need area. If you get the receiver, left tackle Monroe Freeling, best pure left tackle in this draft coming out of Georgia. I know he only started 17 games, but he only had 1 year as a starter this past season. But in pass pro, outstanding. Run blocking needs to improve, but I'll tell you what, with his size, his length, he looks the part of a great left tackle. If he starts sliding, if you get the receiver and he slides, you trade up and try to get him. How about Caleb Lomu? Peter had Spencer Fano going at 6, right? His teammate, the left tackle, Caleb Lomu, get some weight on him, get him stronger. He could be a heck of a left tackle. So how they finesse this left tackle wide receiver need with 6 and 24 is going to be, I think, one of the most fascinating aspects of round one.
I don't see them going Ty Simpson. And that's interesting because Swagu's saying Pittsburgh should swing the bat at 21 and take him. I don't think he's taken at 6. I don't think he's taken at 24. And my feeling, just from talking to sources in Cleveland, this is a long-term build. And if the quarterback isn't there at 6 or 24 that they absolutely love, there is a great quarterback class that's coming in at 2027. And in the meantime, we have Watson and Shedeur. Let's see if one of those guys can win the job. So I don't see Cleveland as a Ty Simpson team, despite the fact Todd Monken knows Jason Simpson, Ty Simpson's father, from years of coaching. Ty Simpson's dad has been the coach at UT Martin since 2006.
Wow, little 6 degrees of separation.
There we go.
That's the kind of information you get from Shregs here, right? Right, Mel? Man, after taking 2 quarterbacks last year, they take Ty Simpson in the first round. That'd be crazy. Yeah. What? Yes, Mel. Yes.
No.
That'd be crazy. All right, we're all agreeing. We're all on the same page.
No.
All right, no. All right, let's keep going here. Coming up, Shregs is back. We're talking Cowboys. So we're talking Shregs mock. We're going to stay in Dallas. All right, you have them using those first 2 picks on Caleb Downs and Akeem Mesidor. A lot of help for that defense. Why are Downs and Mesidor the right move here?
Look, Caleb Downs can go as high as the top 5. He's that good of a player. I just look at the positional value of safety. I think he could fall out of the top 10. I talked to Matt Patricia on the record a couple weeks ago. He said, the second you select Caleb Downs, he'll be the smartest player on your defense, and he'll be the face of your franchise. High praise. Granted, he's his defensive coordinator. Then there's Mesidor, who is 25 years old, is about to be 25 years old, but no one is as productive on the other side of Ruben Bain than this guy. Had 12.5 sacks last year. The last time the Cowboys took 2 defensive players, it was DeMarcus Ware and some guy named Marcus Spears. That worked out pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
I love this. Defense needs to be the focus, obviously. Caleb Downs, we've been hearing about Caleb Downs now, feels like. Talk about Diggs no longer being there. And this has been a position that Dallas has historically liked the draft high. I was there when they took Mo Claiborne, obviously Trayvon Diggs. They've been valuable. So I'll be interested to see whether they go safety or corner if McCoy is still available.
All right, Swagoo, let's check in on the Chiefs at number 9. Peter, why is Jordan Tyson the right fit there for KC?
This is a very specific thing to the Kansas City Chiefs. Jordan Tyson might be the most electric wide receiver in this draft. He just has health concerns. He hasn't been able to stay on the field. When he is on the field, he's been incredible. And to me, Kansas City has a track record of taking exactly those players. We will take the risk on a guy who maybe hasn't been perfect health. We will take the risk on the guy who maybe hasn't been a saint off the field. Put him in Andy Reid's system. Put him with Rick Burkholder, their trainer. Things seem to work out for Kansas City. I love Jordan Tyson. I think this would be an electric pick for Patrick Mahomes.
He's been in my top 10 throughout the majority of the pre-draft process that goes all the way back to the beginning of this past season, by the way. Against big game competition, he was at his best over the past 2 years in 5 games against AP-ranked opponents. Jordan Tyson averaged over 120 receiving.
All right, let's go to the Ravens. They pick at 14, as we see you still on the screen there.
Hello again.
You know, we're just giving America what they want.
Babyface.
More
Some would
field
argue
games.
otherwise.
All right, Kenyon Sadiq. Why is he the pick?
Oh, one of the most electric athletes in this draft. 14's an interesting spot. I put him to the Ravens because of, well, they lost a lot in free agency. Yes, they lost a lot on the offensive line and losing Tyler Linderbaum. But you also lost Isaiah Likely, and you lost Charlie Kolar, who's the other tight end out there. Right now, they have one tight end under contract. That's Mark Andrews. And I believe Kenyon Sadiq is almost like a wide receiver. So now you have this hybrid guy. Think of him as almost a Travis Kelce type and how they use him in Kansas City. That's high praise. That's a Hall of Famer, first ballot guy. I think the Baltimore Ravens would love to give Lamar one more weapon in the open field.
Tight end-centric football team, Peter, you're right about that. And obviously, Kenyon Sadiq is a rare talent coming to that football team if they get him at 14. Obviously, Venga Iwane from Penn State would be in the mix. They've had a good history, the Ravens, out of getting centers. So there's about 5 to 7 centers will play in this league. They can get in that 3rd, 4th round area. But a guy like Sadiq in this draft, the only tight end in round 1 for obvious reasons. He's young, he's developing a great slide and blocking, so he will not be a one-dimensional player at that spot. And his football IQ at the combine, and Peter, I know you talk to everybody as well as Field does, they were amazed at how quickly he responded to question after question with an answer right away. So Kenyon Sadiq worthy of being a mid-first round draft choice.
Yeah, and planning for the future without Travis Kelce, right?
Yeah, I mean, this would be the next guy in that entire sphere of, hey, who's the next tight end that we're going to be looking around the league? And we obviously have Trey McBride, but this would be the guy in Baltimore. For them to have him and Mark Andrews together, great combination.
Yeah, okay, coming up next with all the attention surrounding Josh Allen and the hire of Joe Brady. What else should the Bills be focused on this offseason? That's a good question, right?